What to do if you flood your JETSURF board whilst out riding. Hi, I'm Rui, I'm from JETSURF, and today I'm going to show you how to take the water out of your engine if you've been out riding and flooded it, or for want of a better term, got water inside the engine. Sometimes this can happen if you're out riding, you sink the front too much, your air intake, you get water in the board and it ends up in the engine. Or if you're laying on the board for a long period of time in the water, sometimes it can just get some water in it just through the exhaust at the back if you want it for a long time. So if you're out at sea or on a lake and you flood the board and it won't start, don't try and start it repeatedly, because sometimes if there's water in the engine, if there's that much, it can damage the engine. So swim back to shore, get back to shore as soon as you can, bring the board back, stand the board up on its end when you get back to the beach, and drain as much water as you can out of it from the back, or get it on its stand and then take the lid off. So what you'll see once you've got the board on the stand, take the lid off. Don't put that in a load of sand on the floor, because it might get sand in the engine bay. So just put it to one side for the minute. So what you'll see, you might have water in the engine bay when you come back to shore if you've got water everywhere. And what we're going to need to do is take the water out of the engine. So to do this, we need to first of all take off a red plastic cap that's holding the spark plug HT lead on. So we're going to remove that and put that to one side. We're then going to pop off the spark plug lead off of the spark plug, and that can just stay there, that won't fall anywhere. Then you're going to need your spark plug wrench, which comes in your JETSURF toolkit. This then goes over the spark plug, and give it a little knock and undo it towards the back of the board every time, just to undo it. Now take this off and you should be able to get it out with your fingers. Bear in mind the spark plug could be very, very hot if it's been running, so maybe leave it for a little while, let it cool down, don't burn your fingers. So you take the spark plug out and we put the spark plug to one side. The spark plug will probably be really, really wet. It'd be a good idea to get a towel and dry it off, ready for putting it back in, or alternatively use the spare spark plug that's in your JETSURF toolkit. Now, once we've got the spark plug out, we need to get the water out of the engine. So what I tend to find works best is if you've got your stand set up on the beach, I'm not going to do it for demonstration purposes, but we put the board in the side of the stand and that puts the spark plug facing the floor. So any water in the engine will drain out of the engine naturally through gravity. So we've got our spark plug out, we tip the board on its side, we've got everything ready, and now we're going to crank the engine over with the magnet into the light hole here. We just need to make sure that the engine is on to start with. So put our magnet into our handle, take it out, green light is flashing. Now it may show a different colour because there's water in the engine. So engine on its side, and then we're going to put our magnet into the light to crank the engine over. It will sound different because there's no spark plug in it. So do that once or twice, a few times, just until you stop seeing any liquid or water coming out of the spark plug hole. It will look like a milky, watery substance. That's petrol mixed with water. So get all of the water that you can out, and maybe leave it drain for 5 or 10 minutes, leave it alone. And then when you come back to it, we're going to put the board on the stand again, like this. We're then going to put our spark plug, whether it be the old one cleaned up and put back in, or a brand new one. Sometimes if you've really flooded it, it's better to put a brand new spark plug in just to make sure it's going to crank over. So reversal of taking it out, we put the spark plug in, take our trusty JETSURF wrench again, and then we nip the spark plug up. We don't need to go too tight with this, just enough to nip it up tight, and you'll feel a natural stop on it. Take that out. Then you're going to need to pop your spark plug lead back onto the spark plug. This can be a little bit fiddly. It's easy if you've got small hands. Pop it back on, make sure it's in place, and all the way back on the board. Then we're going to need to put the red plastic spark plug cap back on as well. That goes over the end of the HT lead and slots into the spark plug where the wrench fits. So that clips back into place there. That keeps the spark plug in when you're riding and bouncing around and racing about. So what we're going to do now is we're then going to try and start the board with the plug in. So all your water should be out. Make sure you've emptied as much water as you can out of the board. Your bilge pump will help with this if you've got lots of water in. And what I tend to find is on the stand, if you just lean it back a little bit, you'll get most of the water to down where the bilge pump is and it'll get rid of it. So once all that's gone, you put your spark plug back in, you can then try and start it again. So same as the starting procedure before, initiate the board to get the electrics back up to scratch, pull the magnet out. That's your fuel pump that you're hearing pushing the fuel back to the injection system and the bilge pump. Now, the second time we put the magnet in, the board should start. Try not to, on an injection board, keep pulling the throttle in and out when you're starting it, because it doesn't need that to happen. It's an injection board, it will know how much fuel it needs to go in. So put the magnet in, and I always tend to lean the board back a bit. And then it should start. For demonstration purposes, we've got no fuel in this board, but leaning it back a little bit, holding it and starting it, it should start and fire. If it doesn't start the first time, take the plug out again, put the board on its side, see if any more water comes out, because sometimes you get some water in the other side of the engine to where the piston is. So we need to get all of the water out before it will start. Keep persevering. If it won't start, don't pull the throttle and get loads of fuel in it because you'll flood the engine, but it should start. And once it's started, then you're fine to go out again. We need to then, once we're finished, turn the engine off, put our lid back on, and that is how you get water out of a flooded engine.